Ancient mysteries meet modern science, uncovering the truth behind biblical giants. For centuries, biblical accounts of giants have sparked debate among scholars, theologians, and archaeologists. Stories of Goliath, the Nephilim, and other towering figures have long been relegated to the realm of myth and legend. However, recent archaeological discoveries are challenging our understanding of ancient history and bringing new credibility to these controversial biblical narratives. The intersection of faith and science has always been complex, but when archaeological evidence begins to align with religious texts, the conversation becomes even more intriguing. Today, we explore the fascinating world of biblical archaeology and examine claims about giant skeletons that have been discovered in locations mentioned in ancient scriptures. The biblical foundation: giants in ancient texts. The Bible contains numerous references to giants, known in Hebrew as Nephilim or Gibborim. These accounts appear throughout both the Old and New Testaments, describing beings of extraordinary height and strength who lived among ancient peoples. The most famous biblical giant is undoubtedly Goliath of Gath, the Philistine warrior who stood approximately 9 feet tall according to most biblical translations. The story of David and Goliath has become one of the most well-known tales in human history, symbolizing the triumph of faith and courage over seemingly impossible odds. However, Goliath was not alone in biblical accounts. The book of Genesis mentions the Nephilim, described as mighty men who were of old, men of renown. These beings were said to be the offspring of sons of God and daughters of men, creating a race of giants that walked the earth before and after the Great Flood. Numbers 13:33 provides another compelling reference. There we saw the giants. The descendants of Anak came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. This passage describes the reconnaissance mission of the 12 spies sent by Moses to survey the Promised Land, where they encountered the Anakim, a race of giants living in Canaan. The Anakim were particularly significant in biblical narrative, as they were said to inhabit the very lands that God promised to the Israelites. Cities like Hebron were described as strongholds of these giants, creating formidable obstacles for the advancing Hebrew people. Archaeological evidence: separating fact from fiction. Modern archaeology has approached biblical accounts with scientific rigor, seeking to verify or refute these ancient claims through systematic excavation and analysis. While many supposed giant skeleton discoveries have proven to be hoaxes or misidentifications, legitimate archaeological findings have raised intriguing questions about human height variations in ancient times. Archaeological excavations in the Middle East have indeed uncovered human remains that suggest some ancient populations included individuals of exceptional height. Sites in Jordan, Syria, and ancient Palestine have yielded skeletal remains that, while not reaching the mythical proportions described in some biblical passages, demonstrate that unusually tall individuals did exist in these regions. One of the most significant discoveries occurred in the ancient city of Gath, identified by many scholars as the biblical home of Goliath. Archaeological excavations led by Professor Aaron Meir of Bar Ilan University have uncovered evidence of a Philistine settlement that matches biblical descriptions of Goliath's hometown. While no giant skeletons have been definitively attributed to the biblical Goliath himself, the site has provided valuable insights into Philistine culture and the historical context of these ancient accounts. The Tel Es-Safi archaeological site, believed to be ancient Gath, has revealed impressive fortifications and urban planning that suggest a significant and powerful city-state. The scale of the architecture and the sophistication of the settlement support biblical descriptions of the Philistines as a formidable people capable of producing legendary warriors. Scientific perspective: understanding ancient human variation. From a scientific standpoint, the existence of exceptionally tall individuals in ancient populations is not only possible but well documented. Conditions such as gigantism, caused by excessive growth hormone production, can result in individuals reaching heights of 8 feet or more. While rare, these conditions have been observed throughout human history and could account for some of the giants described in ancient texts. Modern medicine has identified several genetic conditions that can result in exceptional height. Marfan syndrome, Soto's syndrome, and pituitary adenomas are among the conditions that can cause individuals to grow well beyond normal human parameters. In ancient times, without modern medical understanding, such individuals would have been viewed as extraordinary beings, possibly even divine or semi-divine in origin. Archaeological anthropologists have also noted that average human height has varied significantly throughout history due to factors such as nutrition, disease, and genetic isolation. Some ancient populations may have had higher average heights than their contemporaries, leading to the perception of giant races when different groups encountered each other. The interpretation of ancient measurements also presents challenges for modern researchers. Biblical measurements such as cubits varied between cultures and time periods, making it difficult to establish exact heights for the giants described in Scripture. A cubit could range from approximately 18 inches to 24 inches, significantly affecting our understanding of the actual heights described in biblical accounts. Regional discoveries. Evidence from the Holy Land archaeological work throughout the Middle East has produced numerous discoveries that shed light on the physical characteristics of ancient populations. Excavations in Israel, Palestine, Jordan, and surrounding regions have uncovered burial sites containing remains of individuals who were notably taller than their contemporaries. In the Jordan Valley, archaeologists have discovered burial sites dating to the Bronze Age that contain skeletal remains of individuals reaching heights of 6.5 to 7 feet, while not approaching the mythical proportions often associated with biblical giants. These discoveries demonstrate that exceptionally tall individuals were present in the region during biblical times. The ancient city of Hebron, specifically mentioned in biblical accounts as a stronghold of the Anakim, has been the subject of extensive archaeological investigation. While direct evidence of giant inhabitants remains elusive, the scale and construction of ancient structures in the area suggest a population capable of impressive architectural achievements. Excavations at Qumran, famous for the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, have also provided insights into ancient beliefs about giants. Among the scroll fragments are texts that expand upon biblical accounts of the Nephilim, suggesting that belief in giant races was widespread and deeply ingrained in ancient Jewish culture. Cultural context: giants in ancient Near Eastern literature. The biblical accounts of giants must be understood within the broader context of ancient Near Eastern literature and mythology. Stories of giant beings appear throughout Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Canaanite texts, suggesting that such narratives were a common feature of ancient storytelling and religious belief. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the world's oldest known literary works, features a protagonist described as being of enormous stature. Egyptian texts describe the Nephilim and other giant races, often in contexts similar to those found in biblical accounts. These parallel narratives suggest either a common historical basis for such stories or a shared mythological framework among ancient cultures. Understanding these cultural parallels helps modern scholars interpret biblical accounts within their proper historical and literary context. Rather than viewing these stories in isolation, researchers can examine them as part of a broader ancient tradition of giant narratives that may have been based on historical encounters with unusually tall individuals or populations. Modern technology and ancient mysteries. Advances in archaeological technology have revolutionized our ability to investigate ancient claims. Ground-penetrating radar, satellite imagery, and sophisticated dating techniques now allow researchers to explore sites more thoroughly than ever before. These tools have led to new discoveries and have helped verify or refute various claims about ancient populations. DNA analysis of ancient remains has provided unprecedented insights into the genetic makeup of historical populations. While no genetic markers for giant races have been identified, this technology has revealed the complex migration patterns and genetic diversity of ancient Middle Eastern populations. Carbon dating and other chronological techniques have helped establish more accurate timelines for ancient settlements and burial sites. This precision allows researchers to better correlate archaeological discoveries with historical and biblical accounts, providing a more accurate picture of ancient life. Three-dimensional modeling and digital reconstruction techniques have also enhanced our understanding of ancient architecture and urban planning. These tools reveal the impressive scale of some ancient constructions, which may have contributed to legends of giant builders and inhabitants. Controversial claims and careful analysis. The field of biblical archaeology has been plagued by sensational claims and fraudulent discoveries. Numerous supposed giant skeleton discoveries have been exposed as hoaxes, created using digital manipulation or fabricated evidence. These false claims have made legitimate researchers more cautious and have highlighted the importance of rigorous scientific methodology in archaeological investigation. Social media and internet culture have amplified many unsubstantiated claims about giant discoveries. Manipulated photographs and fictional accounts have spread rapidly online, often outpacing careful scientific analysis and peer review. This phenomenon has created significant challenges for legitimate researchers seeking to investigate genuine archaeological evidence. Professional archaeologists emphasize the importance of peer review, publication in respected journals, and replication of findings by independent researchers. Legitimate discoveries undergo extensive analysis and verification before being accepted by the scientific community, a process that can take years or even decades. The distinction between extraordinary claims and extraordinary evidence remains crucial in evaluating supposed discoveries of biblical giants. While the scientific community remains open to new evidence, such claims require exceptionally rigorous documentation and analysis to be accepted as legitimate. Historical perspectives on human height. Historical analysis reveals significant variations in human height throughout different time periods and geographical regions. Nutritional factors, disease prevalence, and genetic isolation all contributed to these variations, potentially creating populations that appeared remarkably tall or short compared to their contemporaries. Medieval European populations, for example, averaged significantly shorter heights than modern humans due to nutritional deficiencies and disease. In contrast, some ancient populations, particularly those with access to diverse food sources and favorable environmental conditions, may have achieved greater average heights. The concept of giants may sometimes reflect relative rather than absolute measurements. A population averaging 6 feet in height would appear gigantic to neighboring groups averaging 5 feet, leading to exaggerated accounts that could grow into legendary proportions over time. Climate change and environmental factors also influenced ancient population characteristics. Ice Age conditions, for instance, may have favored certain physical adaptations that could result in populations with distinctive height characteristics. Theological implications and interpretations. The potential archaeological confirmation of biblical giants raises important theological questions for believers and scholars alike. Different religious traditions have varying interpretations of these accounts, ranging from literal historical narratives to allegorical teachings about spiritual warfare and human nature. Some theological perspectives view the giant narratives as literal historical accounts that demonstrate God's power over seemingly insurmountable obstacles. The story of David and Goliath, from this viewpoint, represents actual historical events that showcase divine intervention and the triumph of faith over physical might. Other interpretations approach these accounts as allegorical or symbolic narratives designed to convey spiritual truths rather than historical facts. From this perspective, the giants represent spiritual challenges, evil forces, or human pride that must be overcome through faith and divine assistance. Archaeological evidence, regardless of its ultimate interpretation, adds new dimensions to these theological discussions. The potential historical basis for biblical accounts may strengthen faith for some believers while raising new questions about the nature of scriptural authority and interpretation for others. Ongoing research and future directions. Current archaeological projects throughout the Middle East continue to investigate sites mentioned in biblical accounts of giants. Advanced techniques and international collaboration are expanding our understanding of ancient populations and their characteristics. The use of genetic analysis on ancient DNA samples holds particular promise for understanding the physical characteristics of historical populations. As techniques improve and more samples become available, researchers may gain clearer insights into the height variations and genetic diversity of biblical-era populations. Interdisciplinary approaches combining archaeology, anthropology, genetics, and biblical studies are producing more comprehensive understandings of ancient narratives and their historical contexts. These collaborative efforts may ultimately provide more definitive answers about the reality behind biblical giant accounts. Future excavations at key biblical sites may yet uncover evidence that further illuminates these ancient stories. As technology continues to advance and new sites are discovered, our understanding of biblical archaeology and ancient populations will undoubtedly continue to evolve. Conclusion: bridging ancient accounts and modern understanding. The question of whether archaeological evidence confirms biblical accounts of giants remains complex and multifaceted. While sensational claims of massive skeletons have largely proven false, Legitimate archaeological work has revealed evidence of height variations in ancient populations that may correlate with biblical narratives. The intersection of faith, history, and science continues to generate fascinating discussions about the nature of ancient texts and their historical reliability. Whether viewed as literal historical accounts or profound allegorical narratives, biblical stories of giants continue to capture human imagination and inspire ongoing investigation. As archaeological techniques advance and new discoveries emerge, our understanding of ancient populations and their characteristics will continue to develop. The careful scientific investigation of biblical claims serves both historical understanding and theological reflection, contributing to ongoing dialogues between faith communities and academic researchers. The story of biblical giants ultimately reflects humanity's enduring fascination with the extraordinary and our desire to understand our ancient past. Whether these accounts describe historical individuals, symbolic narratives, or cultural memories of remarkable people, they continue to provide insights into ancient worldviews and the human experience across millennia. Through continued research, careful analysis, and respectful dialogue between different perspectives, we may eventually gain clearer insights into these ancient mysteries. Until then, the giants of biblical narrative remain compelling subjects for both scholarly investigation and spiritual reflection, bridging the ancient world with our modern quest for understanding.